Hi, I'm Elaine. This is Elaine is XYZ, a vlog that's currently about eating like a local in Beijing. So I've been living in Beijing for the last year or so, and unfortunately I'm about to move out now. I'm sorry, Beijing, I really loved you a lot. Hopefully I'll get to visit you soon. And I thought, what better way to say goodbye to this place than indulging in some of its most traditional local eats. That's right, it's a food vlog, and it's an eating like a local food vlog. So two caveats. One, I'm probably not going to be talking about Peking duck. It's not that I don't like Peking duck, in fact I love Peking duck, but there's so many other places where you can read about Peking duck on the internet, and frankly trying to recommend just like one Peking duck place in Beijing is kind of like trying to recommend one pizza place in all of New York. Second, obviously the regular local Beijinger, being one of 20 million people in this gigantic, super cosmopolitan city, is not only going to eat these eats. In fact, my focus is super traditional, so it's more like if a Beijinger decided never to partake of anything from post-economic reform China. So this won't cover things that are incredibly big here in Beijing now, including like craft breweries or some of those new fusion-y places that are really, really delicious, or vegetarian food, which has been catching on surprisingly well. All that having been said, this should still be pretty fun. So let's get started with eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner like a local Beijinger. Fittingly, for a series about traditional Beijing eats, we're starting off in the Hutong, an iconic part of old Beijing life. With some dating back to the Yuan dynasty in the 1200s, these old neighborhoods used to serve as individual courtyard houses for officials and any other part of the populace connected to the goings-on of the Forbidden City. These close-quartered streets surrounding the palace were the de facto way that Beijing city people lived up until the end of the Qing dynasty. And even when the communists took over and each of these complexes were split into various multi-family homes, it really just upped the density of a sprawling yet tight neighborhood culture. Alas, with economic reform and its demand for redevelopment and skyscrapers, about 2/3 of these Beijing hutongs have been wiped off the map now, and what's left is usually just surrounding some sort of tourist attraction. In honor of those who are still clinging onto their little spot of home in these turbulent modern waters, our first stop will be in a very specifically not touristy food destination eating a very specifically Beijing dish. If I were to define Beijing local traditional eats in any way, I'd say there are two things you can expect. One, it's going to be salty, and two, it will definitely stick to your ribs. We're in Daxing Hutong, close to the Lama Temple, having mian cha, or flour tea, a rice and millet porridge that definitely fulfills those criteria. The porridge is covered with a hot sesame sauce, and you scoop the two into mouthfuls as you eat, unmixed. The whole point is to get that silky sesame-ness to sit on top of the porridge so you get two textures at the same time. This place is a well-known local hole in the wall. The proprietor has been making mian cha for well on 20 years. He starts at 6:30 in the morning every day and closes up shop whenever he runs out. Now locals will eat an entire one of these just sitting on his stoop, but I've got other destinations to head to this morning, so I'm taking this one on the go. Next up, shaobing, also known as huoshao, which refers to how it's made, by baking. It can be filled with anything, though the Beijing specialty is sesame with some Sichuan peppercorn paste thrown in. This stall, located near Andingmen, sells a variety of them, including this sweet sugared one with the consistency between a donut and a croissant. A cronut, but with Chinese characteristics. While you're nibbling on this bread stuff, get yourself a Lao Beijing Nai Lao, or Old Beijing yogurt drink, a slightly sweet but very creamy drinking yogurt made with a bit of rice wine. Yeah, we're already having a pretty hearty breakfast, but I wanted to top the morning off with something I learned looking up old Beijing foods. So if you've ever heard of shaomai or siumai, it's probably from Cantonese dim sum, but did you know that they were invented in the north first? In fact, Beijing's claim to being the original progenitor of the shaomai is pretty strong. The dumpling here that looks a little bit like a hobo bindle sack closest resembles what was eaten by the Yuan dynasty Mongol conquerors. While nowadays in Beijing you're able to find a whole variety of ingredients to pack into these babies, there's nothing quite like having the original hearty lamb type, with a dip of vinegar and chili sauce. At Annie's, a halal shamai location, they do a really high quality basket. Which has roots going all the way back to the Qing dynasty. For lunch, let me introduce you to the dish that's second most associated with Beijing, 炸酱面. 炸酱 refers to the sauce, which is a salty and fragrant soybean paste that's been mixed usually with some pork cubes. You get a bowl of thick wheat noodles, top it off with shredded radishes, bean sprouts, and cucumbers, and then mix it all up. It doesn't get more of the people than this. I'm eating mine with a classic Beijing soda brand called Beijinger, kind of like a local Orangina, and a side of ma tofu made with fermented mung bean milk. It's turned into tofu form. It's usually paired with some sesame and chili oil, and it is pungent. Speaking of pungency, 门款胡同 might have one of the top-rated 炸酱面 in Beijing. To be honest, what they're actually known for is various types of simmered offal. Now this is a truly local Beijing lunch. 陆煮火烧, pig intestines and lungs mixed with fried tofu and our breakfast bread, stewed with methods passed down from the imperial palace. I would get myself a dish, but well, look, some tastes are just easier to acquire than others, okay? For dinner, we're doing something a little different and leaving the hutons behind for something that a huge subset of Beijing city folk are now more likely to interact with. Huton-themed nostalgia restaurants. Yes, hutons are a disappearing part of old Beijing life, but as the structures themselves get raised into the dirt, the yearning for that kind of close neighborhoodiness has become ever more popular with these richer but much lonelier younger generations. Just a couple years ago, a restaurant chain called Juqi stepped onto the stage. Themed after Huton life, it provides a kind of ironic facsimile for people to play act in, and it's been popular enough to warrant opening 20 stores all around Beijing in 4 years. I'm being a little sarcastic, but actually Juqi has a plethora of choices of old Beijing eats. And considering they have 20 locations, it'll be easy for you to find anywhere in the city. Here are some things to order to eat like a new white-collar version of the Beijinger. Qianlong Baicai. Legend has it that Emperor Qianlong, on one of his incognito forays amongst the common folk, came across this dish of fresh cabbage with sesame sauce and honey and loved it so much it became his most favorite vegetable dish ever. It is actually pretty good. Simple yet immensely satisfying. 熏肘子. In case you were missing the wrapping aspect of Peking duck, Juqi has a version of a popular northern dish to work with, smoked pork knuckle. Using a tianzhen bing, or many-layered bing, as a wrap, you then add in the meat, some cucumber, salty sauce, and pickles, and then you eat. Huang dou gao. Ghee flour cake is a popular local dessert that was allegedly a favorite of the Empress Cixi. It's got a mild nutty flavor that's not too sweet, and Juqi gives it an extra bit of twist by shaping it into Chinese chess pieces. 兔儿爷土豆泥. And for the heck of it, let's go super nostalgia with this super Instagrammable dish. An amalgamation of a Ming Dynasty toy, 兔儿爷, the jade rabbit riding a tiger in opera garb, and a dish that was popular in 1970s Beijing, mashed potatoes in a sweet sauce. Here it's a hot dish with a bit of an addictive vinegar tang. What a way to end the night, with this guy staring up at you. Thanks for joining me on this last tour of Beijing and its eats. I really did enjoy my time here, and I hope that my relationship with the city isn't completely over yet, but I guess we'll see what the next year will bring. In the meantime, you can find me off YouTube, on my Instagram, or on my website, and if you got something out of this, please like and subscribe. See you next time doing whatever it is I'm doing.